Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. This is one of the most famous quotes by Warren Buffett, one of the best investors in the world. So, when it comes to Boeing, should we be greedy? Because the stock has had a little bit of a dip recently. So let's go ahead and break it down. Now, if you haven't known already, Boeing has had an issue with its 737 MAX planes last week, or not even a whole week ago at this point in time. Had a panel that blew out, no one was seriously injured, but this has had yet another consternation when it comes to Boeing, and the stock fell 8% at the time that we're doing this video. Now, here's the thing. It's not the first time that this has happened with Boeing within the last 5 years. Between 2019 and 2020, they had yet another incident, and the stock actually has not recovered from that incident, and it is still down right around 30 to 35% over the last 5 years. However, normally I would say, hey, stock down 35% in the last 5 years is not an opportunity for you to buy. Usually that is not the case. But if you bought at the right price, it might be, right? So for example, if you bought the stock at $98 or $120 at this point in time, you would still be sitting pretty. So the question really is Boeing going to head that route? Is Boeing going to come down to a level that makes the most sense for you? It's possible. It's possible. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to break down, give you a little bit of a technical analysis view, meaning we're going to look at a chart and it's going to give us previous information to help us kind of guesstimate at what price Boeing could make sense, because this is what it really comes down to. What price do you want to pay for it? If you're going to buy it today, I'm not so confident on whether or not that is going to be the right point or the right entry price for you to buy this company for the long term. But I do think the stock can come a bit further down where it could make sense for the long term. So let's go ahead and go into screen share and we'll break it down from there. This is Yahoo Finance, which I am sure you guys have seen before. The blue line here is Boeing stock and how it's performed. And then we have our two moving averages. Now, moving averages kind of gives you how well the stock has done over a certain amount of days. Now, I'll break down how this works and how you can judge whether a stock is good based on these. We have previous videos, both in the members only and on the regular page for that. So I'm not going to break that part down here. However, you can see on this date, looks like the 1st of December, it crossed over. That red line crossed over, which is a good indicator that the stock is going to do well. And it did. That's not too big of a surprise. However, we just know what happened. These indicators are lagging, which means they are a little bit behind. So we see that the stock is starting to come down, which again, isn't news. That's not shocking anyone. However, we need to figure out whether or not that's going to be something that is worth us buying. So here, I want to go ahead and take these indicators off and just give you a longer term view of how the stock has done. So now we're looking at over the past 5 years. This was the pandemic, and it really hadn't recovered. Has not recovered since the pandemic, just to put it bluntly. And you can see here that we have several dips, right? And depending on when you picked it up, that could be a buying point for you. Comparing it to the S&P 500 though, just to give you a bit more context, the S&P 500 is up, what is that, 80%, more than 80% versus negative 35 over the last 5 years. They're really going in opposite directions. So for the long term, no, I'm not really excited about the prospects of investing in a company like Boeing. But is there an opportunity? Because again, like I said earlier, it all depends on the price. So if you had bought it right here at 122, or if you had bought it at 117, or if you bought it way back at $97 a share, you're up big right now. If you bought this at $97 a share and it's around 200, even though it's still down 35%, you're up big. So to give us a better picture, I'm going to go over to TradingView, another site that we talk about inside our members only, to give a better look at how to view a trade and how to really figure out whether or not we're looking at something at the right price. So I'll go ahead and hit super charts, and it's going to pull up a candlestick chart for us. Candlestick charts, the basic thing is each of those little lines that you see represents a different day. And when you see large green candles like this, that was a really good day. You see large red candles, that was a bad day. So it really kind of tells us day by day how these stocks did. Now, my objective here is to find the day that it did well and then just go back. What happened before it did well? What was that space? What was that area before the stock hopefully took off? And if it comes back to that spot, that is usually a good indicator for us to come back and buy it. But you can see here, it gives us a different view, right? From day to day versus just, long term as we saw on Yahoo Finance. You can also do this on Yahoo Finance. I just like TradingView because it just works a bit easier. So first, I'm looking at a positive day here. This one's pretty good. If I go to the left of it, there should be a zone, right? A zone or a space that could make sense for the stock to fall to and bounce back up. Why is that the case? Well, last time the stock was in this area, it bounced up and things went pretty well the very next day. So what I'm going to do here is draw. Actually, I need a different tool to do this. I think it's a parallel channel. Where is it? There we go. Okay, so you can use whatever tool you want to use. It's just what I like to use is a bit easier for me. So this zone right here, this space, this is one area where you could buy it. Now, I don't think it's the best area, but that is one area where you should get a bit of a bounce there. But again, this is news related, so it's a bit different. There's another area which I think is a bit better. And then we'll explain each of these here in a sec. And then there is another one. Let's see. That's pretty good. Pretty good. So if I'm looking, we can say, if it comes down to about 226, that is an okay area to buy. Honestly, I think it's going to fall much, much further than that. But that is one space that you could buy. You can see here that it's falling pretty quickly and pretty sharply, but it's going to hit that area relatively soon if it hasn't hit it already by the time that you're watching this video. But we've seen how this has happened in the past. Now, it could come further down, and there is a chance that it can fall into this space between 210 and 200. That might be, I would say, a medium space where we can say, okay, this is a solid space to buy here, and you might start to get a bounce there. But again, it is very, very dependent on what the news cycle is. Now, if I zoom out, I might get a better angle, a better way to kind of look at this as well. So you can see here, this was obviously a great place to buy. Easier to say that now, right? It's another good place to buy. Again, very easy to say now. But when I zoom out a bit more, it does give me a little more context where I can say, well, wait a minute, right? The last time that it came down to this price area, this is where people were buying. And we can see that. We can easily see that this area right at about 183, this is where people were buying the stock the last time it came down after a huge drop that we see. The left-hand side there, all red, right? All red to the indicator, the mouse that you guys see here. So very similar shape, if you will. I'm not really big into candlestick shapes, but you guys get the point here. So if we were to mark that, I've got one area, two areas, and then we can call this perhaps 3, then this is going to give me a good spot to say, hey, this might be perhaps the best area for me to buy, because I think just based on how the news cycle has moved and looking at how this chart has moved in the past, it tends to be a pretty sharp drop, right? These drops don't seem to be, really spaced out, with the exception of 2021. I would say all of 2021 if you're looking at the chart. But here we can mark a space or a zone, an area in this space, which I would argue is your best opportunity to buy. That's the best price that you're likely going to get it at if the company is to do well after that. So we're just using previous history, previous chart patterns to kind of give us a better idea on where to buy the stock. So with this, we've identified 3 separate areas. So this has been just a little bit of a view for technical analysis and how this can work. It's not an exact science, even though some people will tell you that, but definitely check out our members only for more deep dive breakdowns, technical analysis, fundamental analysis, everything in between. And this was released to our members first. So make sure that you join it so you can get early access to our videos as well.